guys. Welcome to Bragging Rights Breakdown again. I have not been feeling great this week, and I haven't really had any time at all to prep for this, so I'm going to fly through it as fast as I can, and all the typical breakdown details. I'm going to kind of skip out on specifically in some of the awards. You'll notice that. All right. So that being said, let's start off with our awards, and I am going to skip the what happened in the NFL this week section. Really big thing. Greg Hardy still being a giant pain in the ass. Not really feeling sorry for what he did or anything. Who knows? Anyway, I'm going to skip that section for this week again because I did not have time to prep. So let's get into the awards. All right, Juggernaut this week, Teenage Mutant Ninja Bortles. Nate getting back up on top in his big numbers, 125 points this week. Kingslayer, me over Brian. Woo! Beat the #1 player. Shout out to Foley over Folks. So just as a little thing there, Folks has been on the rise, and Foley kind of knocked him down a peg there. That was real nice. Not so much for you folks, sorry. Lombardi, Chris Folks with D'Angelo Williams for 36.5 points. Tough luck. Closest we got here is Brian getting up to 111 points, but still losing. That is a tough loss. However, I think that's still like 5th in scores or high scoring week this week. Excuse me. Teabag, Rob lost by over 40 points to Balls Deep. Oh, wow. Balls Deep came up big. Rob didn't show up. Sorry, boss. Space Cadet, can you guess who showed up here? Yeah, Tony, again. Come on. I'm even texting you and letting you know. Let's get it on top, all right? Bonehead beats by Ray. Could have used some of those in that loss to Chris. I'm sorry there. 78 points on the bench. It's got to hurt. Game of the week, me and Brian decided by 8.7 points. So obviously the highest scoring game total this week. Pretty good game though. All right, this week's recap. We had 5 people put in their guesses this week. Foley is joining onto the list here. So with the recap, me, Chris, and Foley went 2 and 3. Mike Folks went 1 and 4, and the only winning record this week, which was barely, was Brian with 3 and 2. Not great on the guessing for anybody this week. All right, the first recap: Reign of Wayne at Balla on a budget. Foley, Brian, and Chris got this one right. Big players for this game: Cam Newton 33.6, Adrian Peterson up over 20, Alan Hearns, Greg Olson. A lot of good producers for my team. Over on Brian's team, didn't get his production that he normally does. He got 26 from Derek Carr, so nice start there. Next highest though is Todd Gurley with his first week without 100 yards rushing, but he still got 16 points, or almost 17 points there. Final score, 120.4 to 111. Rough loss for Brian. Sorry, 111.7. Tony showing up in the crappy awards again in this matchup. Infinite Loop at Teenage Mutant Ninja Bortles. Going into this, we got Tony didn't really get any giant players. Couple double digits. Highest scoring being 17.9 from Tom Brady. One of his weaker showings, actually. Over for Teenage Mutant Bortles, 33 points from Aaron Rodgers. 23.3 from Tyler Eifert. And LeGarrette Blount came up big in the trade. You're welcome, Nate. And LaShawn McCoy, 17.9 as well, tying the high score for Rob. For Tony, I'm sorry. Final score, 87.3 to 125 for Teenage Mutant Ninja Bortles. And on that game, myself, Brian, and Chris are the only ones to get that one. All right, pretty good game here for the underdogs at the Cowboys, albeit pretty low scoring. Actually, this week we didn't have anybody really bust the bank on the low end. This was a low score, but pretty good still. I'm the only one that got this one right with the Cowboys winning. Chris had D'Angelo Williams for 36 points. That was his biggest player. Aside from that, the next one was 15.2 for Phillip Rivers. Luke just had a little bit better play. 23 points for Delaney Walker, 21 for Andy Dalton. Of course, I'm leaving out the decimals here. Total score, 98.1 for Luke, 88.7 for Chris. Luke winning this one, not by much though. All right, Balls Deep at Beats by Ray. Balls Deep, Lamar Miller, Jeremy Langford, and Michael Crabtree all coming up with 22 plus points. For Beats by Ray, not so much people showing up. Actually, the highest score he got was 15.2 from Manning. Again, not a good week for him. Second most was his kicker, which is usually a sign. The only week that Devontae Freeman really didn't come up gigantic. So maybe leveling off a little bit there. Final score 112.6 to 71.6. Balls deep winning this one. Nice one, Chris. Only two to get this one right was Brian and Folks. All right, final game recap. Fire Breathing Rubber Duckies at Project Badass. Mike didn't have anybody really stand out, unfortunately for him this week. Highest scoring player being Amari Cooper, with Josh Brown as kicker was 17 points. For Project Badass, he just blew up. Fully good call in this one. I thought it was just a homer pick, but evidently it really showed up this week. Antonio Brown, 28 points. Ben Roethlisberger, 21. Des Bryant, 16. Just a lot of big scores on his side. Total score 87.9 for Folks, 101.2 for Foley. We now have a 1-1 kind of matchup here. That was pretty cool, but congrats there, Foley. And again, the only one to get that one correct was Foley. Again, I thought it was a homer pick, but I guess we are all wrong. All right, on to the predictions. First one being Reign of Wayne at Balls Deep. So I did get Nate's prediction in, but I have not heard from Folks or Brian yet. I'm sure I will be hearing from them, so you'll hear it in the recap this coming week. But I did not get the predictions. So for this game, Chris is the only one that went for me. Folks, myself, and Nate all went for Balls Deep. Big reason here, projections, I'm on the low end. And frankly, I just took a big blow with Dion Lewis. You guys saw my text message, wondering if anybody's willing to trade some good running backs. I'm just not having too much confidence this week in my team. I think Chris is going to get this one. All right, second one, Beats by Ray at the Cowboys. Again, Rob not predicted to do too well here, while Luke is predicted massive. I know when I was looking, Rob didn't have his lineup 100% set yet. Looking to make a couple moves. Specifically, Devontae Freeman out is going to hurt him quite a bit, especially as big of games as he's been putting up. That being said, I got to go with the Cowboys. Everybody followed suit. Folks, Chris, and Nate all went with TMNB at Project Badass. All right. So this week, Foley really surprised me last week. That's what I got to say there. Normally, I would go Teenage Mutant Bortles because he's a strong player. He's got the predictions and he's got the matchups. Again, it's not a big difference in the predictions, though. So, honestly, I got to go with Project Badass just because he did surprise me last week. Teenage Mutant Ninja Bortles was voted on by Folks, Chris Folks, and Nate as well. So all three of them went there. I got to give it to Project Badass on this one, though, because he did surprise me. All right, rolling into the next game, Ball on a Budget, Boab at Infinite Loop. Ball on a Budget, I think, is going to take this one pretty easily, especially if Tony doesn't set his lineup again. I didn't see if he had gotten Decker in prior to this game starting. Yeah, I am actually watching Thursday Night Football right now. Again, I'm sorry this took so long this week. We'll get into that at the end. But again, I just have a hard time seeing Tony win this one unless he really gets a good start, and he's kind of hurting from the bye week and some injuries right now. Predictions lean for Boab. He just lost to me. I don't see him losing 2 in a row again. So I've got to go with Boab. Everybody else went with me as well. Final game here. We got the underdogs at Fire Breathing Rubber Duckies. Brother on brother going on here. This one was actually difficult for me. Nate went with Chris. Me, Mike, and Chris, coincidentally, went for his brother Mike. Mike's been on a hot streak. Chris has just struggled to break into the middle of the pack. That being said, I would not be surprised to see an upset. So far from my scoreboard here, he's only got 0.3 on Thursday night so far, but I would not be shocked at all if this was an upset. That being said, underdogs voted by Nate, and Firebird by me, Folks, and Chris. By the way, I'm saying Firebird because the initials FBRD. It's kind of fun for me to say it that way. All right. That's all I got for this week's breakdown. Again, I'm sorry it was really blunt to the point and short. If you guys like this version, I can give it the colorful language, but in a much shorter version. But again, I'm sorry this week. I'm just not feeling well. I didn't prepare at all for it this week. I'm literally reading off the screen right now. I didn't look at any in-depth predictions or anything like that. I will throw up a vote poll this week. Whether you guys like me to keep it shorter or if you guys like the 10-minute. If 10 minute is fine, I'll continue doing how I was before. Again, this week, I'm sorry it was so short. That's all I got this week. So have fun on Thursday night here. Bills at the Jets, and catch you downfield next week.